I'm going to teach you the most foundational element of core strength, which is the foundation for the rest of your training program. When you are learning core strength, the most important thing to learn first is going to be your breathing pattern. You need to foster a proper breathing pattern in order to have a strong and functional core. What this looks like practically is that you'll have a 360 expansion every time you take a breath in. So when you fill your lungs with air, you invite pressure into the canister of your core. When you invite pressure, you need to expand in a way that allows that pressure to come in without pushing out in a place it shouldn't go. So when you breathe in, you should have an expansion in your belly, an expansion in your back, and an expansion in your rib cage. In the sternum, it should look like a pump handle, like this. When you expand in your rib cage, it should look like a bucket handle, like this. So imagine a bucket handle coming up and down and up and down, and then a pump handle like at a well that goes up and down like this. Pump handle, sternum and spine. Bucket handle is rib cage on both sides. What I want to see is an equal expansion on both sides of the rib cage and a slight expansion in the sternum and the spine as you inhale. To start, I want you to take a deep breath in and notice where your breath is going. The most important thing to do before you try to add in any of these tips is to see what your baseline is. And if we've done a breathing assessment, you will know from me what your breathing pattern is by default. So when you're getting ready to take a breath in, you are going to breathe in through the rib cage. So the rib cage should expand on both sides, belly should expand, and then the back should expand. What that looks like from the front is this. Rib cage comes out, rib cage comes in. You should have the ability to move both sides of your rib cage out and in. And then from the side, and the sternum and spine should also expand. There is another element to this proper breathing pattern that we need to foster. When we're taking a breath in, we should also have an expansion into the pelvic floor. If you're not sure what this feels like, I'll show you another exercise later that will help you to find your pelvic floor. But for now, imagine feeling that small expansion into your pelvic floor and then contracting it up as you exhale. That looks something like this. So I'm going to breathe in. And as I progress this exercise, you're going to add another element in and out. So the first thing that you're going to be working on is simply trying to get your breath to go down and expand in that 360-degree pattern. The second thing you're going to do is work on expanding and contracting everything together, and that will set you up for success when you start lifting heavier weights. So I'm going to breathe in and then exhale, pull up from the pelvic floor. My belly button comes into my spine and I wrap my rib cage up and around, and I have this complete engagement of my core from the bottom and from the top. Everything engages and turns on. And the way that I use that in application is going to be whenever I lift something heavy up, that's when I'm going to exhale, because that's how I get the most engagement and support in my core. So we're going to take a couple breaths and work on this simple exercise together. So the first part of this exercise is going to be simply working on expanding 360 degrees around. So let's take 3 breaths, expanding 360 degrees around. Inhale. Exhale. Open mouth exhale. It's passive right now. We're not forcing the air out. We're letting it come out naturally. Breathe in. Now, once you've mastered that, you're watching in the mirror, you're seeing that your belly's expanding, your back's expanding, and your rib cage is expanding. Then we're going to add in the exertion that you will carry over into the gym and into your lifting. What that looks like is this. You're going to breathe in, expand 360 degrees around, and then you're going to exhale, pull up from the pelvic floor, belly button comes to spine. I wrap up here through my rib cage, and my rib cage connects down as if it's trying to meet my core where it's at, and then exhale all the way. Breathe in, and I'm going to let it all go at first while I'm trying to keep my good posture. So my good posture comes from thinking about keeping my shoulders back and down, my rib cage stacked over my pelvis, and I'm imagining that there's a string pulling my head up toward the ceiling, and that's how I'm going to engage into that good posture. I'm going to breathe in, and then exhale. Pull up from the pelvic floor, belly button comes in, back comes in, sides come in, rib cage engages, and I am wrapped up all the way around 360 degrees, and I'm going to breathe in. Let it all go. Stage 3 of this exercise is going to be bringing this engagement into everything else that you do. So while I am, let's say, a bicep curl for ease of imagination, I'm going to inhale at the bottom, and then I'm going to exhale, pull my rib cage. I'm going to exhale, pull my pelvic floor up, belly button, sides, back, rib cage. While I'm pulling up, my core is nice and engaged. I'm going to keep that brace, and I'm going to breathe through that brace as I let my arms down. And there you have step 1 of your breathing core engagement.